What do you do if you're being targeted by another author and it's making you uncomfortable, you are being actually bullied, or you're being harassed by these people? We know that while this does not happen all the time in the industry, it most certainly does happen. It's happened to me, it's happened to many of my friends, and this week I've had so many newer authors come to me because there is drama inside a lot of these baby author circles. So what are the steps that we need to take? Make sure that we are keeping in mind that we're protecting ourselves and we're protecting this industry. Now, before we get into any of this, I just want to remind you, we are a rising tide raises all ships mentality when it comes to this community. We are building each other up. When you succeed, I succeed. And when I succeed, you succeed. We want to make sure that we're building each other up. We are co-workers, not opponents. We are not competition. We're not fighting against each other for reads. There are enough readers for everybody out there. So if someone is then coming into your space and they're trying to hurt your reputation, they're trying to make you uncomfortable, they are bullying you, they are harassing you, now we need to start protecting our space. I do not want you to endure this for prolonged periods of time. Now, if you do need to make sure you understand the situation before doing things, by all means, please do that. We don't necessarily just want to hit the block button when somebody gives us the ick. We want to make sure we understand what's going on. Sometimes it could be a simple misunderstanding, and an easy conversation with that person can back them up and respect the boundaries that you have to make sure it's a good, healthy working relationship. I've had people who have made me feel a little weird in this industry, and when I had a conversation with them to kind of explain the boundaries and what I expect from being in this mutual space together, then we have been able to fix these things. I've had people who have not been able to respect these things, and then we have to take further measures. So what is it that we need to do when we are faced with these different situations? The first thing that you need to do before you do anything else is make sure you're documenting what's going on. If you are getting DMs, if you're getting comments, if people are leaving comments on live streams that they're showing up to, if they're in your space and engaging with you in some way that's making you uncomfortable, please document this. You may not need it later, but you might actually need it later. So document everything. Keep a dedicated folder on your computer and make sure you have it for potential issues. And then inside of that folder have subfolders for these different people. Anytime you take a screenshot on your phone or your computer, you're adding it into that folder just in case you need it later. This may mean that you're trying to prove yourself when something goes down later. It may mean that you are trying to protect yourself in a legal capacity. It may mean that you're trying to get involved with law enforcement to make sure that you're protected if it goes to that extremity. So we want to make sure we always have those proof pieces ready to go should we need them. Anytime it's making you uncomfortable, get it over there. Now I want you to make sure you understand the situation that you're in. I want you to bring several confidants into this conversation so that you're not doing this alone. Make sure you understand, because sometimes we can misread situations. We can read something in a way that might not have been intended. Sometimes when I find myself in situations that I could potentially have a reaction that's not so great on, I will bring my confidants into it. I want to make sure I understand what the person is saying. And this is not just about bullying and harassing. This can be about, nicer things as well. Make sure you understand the context in which things are being said. So show them the screen grabs. Say, how are you reading this? Don't put your own thoughts onto this. Say, what did you get out of this? And then get their feedback. Once you have their feedback, you now have the ability to bring your own feedback into this and discuss, did they mean this in a sinister way? Did they mean this in a controlling way? Did they mean this in a derogatory way? Were they just somebody who was a little awkward and maybe didn't know how to word some sentences in that paragraph? Let's have this conversation with people that you trust who are objective in this situation, because sometimes when things are happening to us, we can feel like it's going a different way. Sometimes I will misread things and I'll think it has a different tone of voice than other people are reading it. And so bringing in people who are objective to this can help you to decipher what's going on so that you can either feel a little more at ease or understand the next steps to take to protect yourself. Once you have your documentation down, now you need to potentially be reaching out to this person. If you feel like it's a situation that is not unsafe, so if it's something where you are unsafe, please do not reach out to that person. Just get yourself away and out of that situation. But if you feel like potentially it could be a misunderstanding, it could be handled, we could set those boundaries up and manage those expectations and then move forward with a working relationship, by all means, try to have that conversation. I know it's not a fun conversation to have. It is not something where people want to reach out and say, hey, you're making me uncomfortable. Oftentimes that's not received very well, and it can be a scary thing to do. So make sure that you understand what you're going to say first. Practice writing it. Don't just type things out and send it to people. Write it in a note, go over it, give it an hour, give it 2 hours, have your friend read it over. Make sure you understand that this is the best possible response that you can give to this person to start that dialogue. Then if they react badly, now you can take steps based on that, or if they respond respectfully, now you can take steps based off of that as well. If now you have a respectful working relationship, you are good to go. Don't get rid of your receipts in your folder. Keep those just in case something changes later on. But if you are able to move forward, fantastic, you're good to go. If then we have issues instead of respect, now we can move forward with dealing with this however we need to. If you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're feeling attacked, if you're feeling like they're bullying you or they're harassing you in some kind of way, it's okay to block these people. You can, if they're making you uncomfortable but not directly doing it at you, you can mute them so that you don't see them. You can unfollow them so that you're still maintaining a working relationship and friendship on Facebook, but not necessarily see them, and you're not going to feel attacked the way that you are. But if they're coming directly at you, you're in a situation that you do not want to be in, you have full permission to block people. There is nothing in this industry, there is nothing in this world that says you have to allow someone in your space. If you are going to block somebody, they're potentially going to notice. They could potentially get upset. They may have some reactions that we don't like. So be prepared. Once you take this step, there are going to be consequences for it. And that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but it does mean you have to be prepared to deal with this. So there's a lot of ways that this could devolve. There's a lot of ways that this could go down. You just have to be ready and manage your own expectations to get through this. If you are going to start seeing them make secondary accounts to come find you, to show up to all the live streams you're on, to access you in ways that they are not reaching directly out to you, but they are currently in your space at all times, you may need to take some further steps. You may at that point need to let your community know, hey, listen, this person is kind of being a cyber stalker here. We've got some issues. They're aggressively showing up in my space after I have taken efforts to keep them out of my space. I don't want to worry anybody. I don't want you to go after this person. I don't want you to do anything other than be aware that this is a situation. If your friends are good friends, they will protect you and surround you with this. They will be very good about taking care of you. And if they are not, maybe it's time to reconsider just how close that friendship or working relationship happens to be. So just let people who are in your inner circle know what's going on so that they can watch your back. You then also have to watch your back because you don't know if they're going to come in with a secondary account, with some fake names, if they're going to do other things. We've seen things in this industry go to the extremes, and it's not always going to do that. Sometimes they're just going to be mad and they're going to badmouth you to other authors, and then they're going to move on with life, and that's great. But if it goes to a further extreme, there are steps you need to take to protect yourself. Now, for the most part, if you're blocking somebody who's being inappropriate with you and it's not a situation you want to be in, you have to understand that they're likely going to try to badmouth you to some people. People who know you and who understand the situation are not going to look badly upon you. You don't have to worry about that. And people who side with that other person are not people you wanted in your life anyway. Bless and release, let them go. You do not need to worry about those. Even though it feels like it's going to hurt us, it's actually not going to hurt us. It's going to qualify the people around us so that we can rise up together. Now, if we do go to a further extreme, you will then have to take some further steps. Again, we're going back to documenting everything. You want to make sure that every time they show up in your space, they're doing things that are inappropriate, it is not okay for them to be in your space, you are documenting all those things and having other people document them as well. You may not be able to get the screen grab of them showing up on the live stream that you're on when you're not hosting it, but somebody else is. You may not be able to notice all of these things, but if other people are, they can document that for you as well. Then you may need to go a little more public about this. I do not like the idea of taking these dramatic events and going public with them. That never works well for you, but if you have to in order to protect yourself, I understand that. Be smart about how you're doing it and have those receipts. But if it gets to a place where you are in danger, you are in physical danger, this person is actually stalking you, there are bad things going down, and you are fearful for your own safety, now you're going to need to start getting law enforcement involved, and this is where your documentation comes in. Law enforcement may not be able to do too much because they have to operate within the confines of the law. And there are certain things they are allowed and not allowed to do. At worst case, they will be able to write down notes so that you have those on file should you need them later on. You do not necessarily want to go into this with the mindset of they're going to give me bodyguards and they're going to protect me and they're going to arrest this person. They're going to look into it because they don't have the legal ability to do that in a lot of cases. So you need to make sure that you're putting things on the record but not expecting them to handle your situations for you. Now, there's also the capacity where you may need to get a lawyer involved if this person is defaming you, if they are trying to wreck your name, if they're trying to hurt your business and they're doing so publicly. Now you may have to send a cease and desist. You may have to get a lawyer involved. So now is the time to start looking for those things and making sure that you have some someone in your sphere that you can go to should you need to. Even if you don't need them now, now's a great time to do the research to make sure you have that available to you should something happen. Of course, if this is something where somebody is showing up in your physical proximity, now you need to get other people involved. If you are at a book signing or a book convention or some kind of event, let the people around you immediately know what's going on. Most of them will absolutely stand by you and help to protect you and keep that buffer distance between you and that person. That's happened to me many times at events when people have decided it was okay to put their hands on me when it wasn't. You also want to make sure that the people in charge are aware of what's going on. If there's a security team, they can handle this. They also have the ability to make sure that they are protecting the other people at these events. So you got to make sure that the right people are aware of these situations, and it's truly something that is being documented, people are noticing, and that people are being mindful of so that everybody can stay safe in these situations. So while most of these uncomfortable encounters are not going to result in outright stalking or problematic behavior, you do have to be mindful of your own personal space. You decide what you do and do not allow in your personal and professional space. And if you don't want somebody there, it's okay to block them. It's okay to exclude them from what you are doing. We're not going to be mean about it. We're not going to be vicious about it, but we are going to protect our space. We don't let somebody come into our house and just trash the house, right? We're not going to let somebody come into our professional digital space and do that either. So be mindful of this and make sure you're taking steps to protect your mental and emotional well-being as you're doing this. Try to take the small steps first, set up those boundaries, try to have those conversations, and if you have to, block that person out of your life, and then continue to watch just to make sure nothing else is going on. But keep in mind, what other people think of you is none of your business. You do not need to know what she said about you or what he said about you or what he's saying about you to try to mess you up because you blocked him. These are not your problems. That's a them issue. You are good doing what you're supposed to be doing. So stay focused on your own path and make sure that you're taking care of yourself and the people who are surrounding you as you are all growing together. I know it is not a fun world to be in when people are getting nasty, when people are getting mean, when people are coming after you, and it's not something fun to deal with people who are constantly getting in your space in a way that's aggressive or not going to serve your growth and serve your well-being. So just be mindful of these things and be smart about who you choose to spend your time with. I know especially when we jump into this industry, we feel like we want to be friends with everybody and we want to make all the friends that we possibly can and we want to pull all these people into our circle, but that's not going to serve us. So the first thing that you can do before these kinds of things happen is to qualify the people you're spending time with. Remember, we have circles of people in our life. Our innermost circle, the people who are closest to us, they know everything, they see everything, they get that close-up view of us. And then we have the outer rings, people who we work with a lot, who we spend a lot of time with, who we're friendly with, who we're friends with, but not best friends with. Then we have a further out circle, people we work with a lot, people we see, people we kind of are friendly with and chatty with. We go out to people we're just kind of sometimes working with. You can go out further and further. It's okay to not allow people into your innermost rings if they're brand new. Qualify these humans before you let them in on what you do. Don't do the same things with the same people all the time. We don't want to form this one cliquish group and then have an issue within that group. Make sure you have lots of groups of people. Make sure you're spending time with all of these things and you're spacing out how you're spending time. Be smart about how you're doing this before you bring people into the tight circles. Give that time. In fact, you should not have really super close author friends for at least many months to a year into your author life. You've got to be very careful about this and bring in lots of people. Understand that you're making new friends and business connections. And then once you spend a lot of time with these people, you can decide where you're going to put them in those rings. You've got to be very careful about this. So being careful up front prevents the vast majority of these things. That doesn't mean it's going to stop all the things, especially if you have a particular type of person who is on the stalkery side. But you do have the ability to prevent a lot of the drama by qualifying who you allow close to you and not just as a working relationship over here that sometimes happens. Be smart, be aware, and make good choices as you are going to do this. I know there's a lot that we covered. There's so much more that we can do. This was a very wide look at it. It is not a deep look at this at all. But as somebody who has been through a lot of all of these kinds of things that we've discussed here today, I am more than happy to help you out. So if you have questions, comments, drop them down below. Or if you don't feel comfortable dropping them here, please by all means email me or DM me. I am always here and more than happy to help you out and help you figure out what's going on in your specific space. So if you've got an issue happening right now, please, I am more than happy to help you objectively look at this and figure out what's going on, what is happening, how best to protect yourself and take care of yourself, and the steps that you could potentially be taking seeing throughout this. As always, we're making sure your safety is the most important thing, and you are documenting everything that's going on so that you have the proof later on if you need it, and that you are bringing other people into the situation to help protect you and to protect them as well. We'll see you in the upcoming videos that help you to continue to thrive inside of the publishing world. We're dropping daily videos to help you level up so you can make more money in this industry, but spend less time and effort and stress doing it. Questions, comments, drop them down below, and we'll see you in the next episode.